Ian Begley mentions another player the Knicks might target, and I'm here to break it all down. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel from Knicks Digest. Let's get right into today's video. So Ian Begley put out a report earlier today talking about breaking down a potential Knicks trade for Karl Anthony Towns. Towns has many connections to New York's front office. Let me repeat that. Karl Anthony Towns. Now, before even breaking down the article, no. I don't care. I don't care who we're giving up. I don't care if it's nobody that we're giving up. We should not be targeting Karl Anthony Towns. I will give you the basketball reasons as to why. Money-wise, his contract is ridiculous. I'll give you some excerpts from the article, but I'm talking about basketball. Basketball-wise, I'm going to break down why we should not even be near Karl Anthony Towns. So as far as the actual trade packages that we can give the Minnesota Timberwolves for Karl Anthony Towns, it's a little bit interesting because it really depends on two things. So it really depends on, hypothetically, if we were to throw out a trade for Karl Anthony Towns before July 1st, would look a little different than if we did after July 1st. And if we take a look into the article, the Knicks would have to match Towns' $36 million salary in a trade executed prior to July 1st. If the trade is executed after July 1st, they would have to match Towns' $49 million salary. Now, the excerpt goes on to say that the Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, they could add a third or fourth team to make the money's match. But I'm focusing on what they said about making a trade prior to July 1st. They would have to match a $36 million salary that Karl Anthony Towns would have. And then after July 1st, I believe it's 49. Like I said earlier in the video, Karl Anthony Towns' contract is ridiculous. For the type of player that he is, it's ridiculous. But going into the article and Ian Begley's trade packages after July 1st, let's take a look into it. So after July 1st, Ian Begley has Julius Randle, Bojan Bogdanovic, Dariel Concha, and multiple first-round picks that work in the trade that executed after July 1st. This salary total barely exceeds Towns' $49.3 million. It would hard cap the Knicks at the second apron in 2024-2025 season. Okay, so the trade package of Julius Randle, Bogdanovic, Dariel Concha, and multiple first-round picks for Karl Anthony Towns? No, I'm not doing it. Absolutely not. I don't care. Julius Randle, if you guys have watched this YouTube channel since I first started, you guys know my feelings about Julius Randle. He's not my favorite Knick. I don't think he's the best Knick. But compared to Karl Anthony Towns, I'm actually still taking Julius Randle. And it's interesting because prior to this past season, I would have pulled the trigger on that trade. I would have said, let's get Karl Anthony Towns. We get Julius Randle out of here. We ship him out. The bad vibes, bad energy. But before Julius Randle's shoulder injury this season, I really saw Julius Randle really starting to accept the role of being the second option on the Knicks. I really saw Julius Randle accepting that this is Jalen Brunson's team. And last season, when it was Jalen Brunson's first season as a Knicks, they had a good season. They went to the playoffs. They lost in the second round to the Miami Heat in 6 games. But I still felt that there was this I can't really put it into the words, but there was still a decision that needed to be made between Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle as far as whose team is this. But this past season that just happened, absolutely not. Julius Randle, it looked like he really dug into that second option role. And that's what I really like about Julius Randle. Karl Anthony Towns, now I can make the argument that Karl Anthony Towns really has taken a step back and let Anthony Edwards proclaim the Minnesota Timberwolves as his team, which 100% it is. It's not even a question. I think if you were an avid NBA fan, a basketball fan, and you saw Anthony Edwards' rookie season, I think you would be able to say oh yeah, this is going to be his team really soon. Karl Anthony Towns probably has one more season as far as being the guy. But that's how far Karl Anthony Towns has fallen off for me. Julius Randle, Bogdanovic, Dariel Concha, and multiple first-round picks, I am not giving that up for Karl Anthony Towns. Now, going back into the article, now let's take a look at the trade package Ian Begley threw out for before July 1st. So before July 1st, in a trade prior to July 1st, New York could send out Julius Randle and Bogdanovic, with the Knicks increasing his partial guarantee next year to $7.8 million and including multiple first-round picks. This would be a 100% match for Towns' $36 million. It would hard cap the Knicks at the second apron in 2024-2025 season. So the only difference between the first trade and the second trade, the first trade was after July 1st, the second trade was before July 1st. The only difference between the two was that Jericho Sims was included in the trade after July 1st. Before July 1st, it was just Randall, Bogdanovich, and the multiple first-round picks. And guess what? I'm still not doing that. I'm still not doing that for Karl Anthony Towns. Now, going into the reason why I am not giving up anything for Karl Anthony Towns, it's because of one thing. Karl Anthony Towns, as far as talent, yes, he's very talented. He's a three-point shot. He could put the ball on the rack. He has post-up moves. He's a really good player. But what I really, really don't like from Karl Anthony Towns is his basketball IQ. And specifically, what I saw from him in the Dallas Mavericks series in the Western Conference Finals was absolutely egregious. He had multiple opportunities where there was somebody defending him that was smaller. He had a smaller guard on him. And what did he end up doing? What did he end up not doing as much as he should have? He stayed out in the perimeter and he was shooting threes. He is proclaiming himself as the best big man shooter of all time. But what he should be proclaiming himself as the worst basketball IQ player of all time. I just don't understand it. In this generation of NBA players, I get it. The three-point is a very, very big piece of offenses and how you run your offense. But you also gotta let your basketball IQ take over the game. If you have someone smaller and you have the body to back them down, and if they're too small for you and just to do a little baby hook, make the game easier for you. Don't start off the game trying to shoot threes and trying to will your way into the game. If the three ball is not falling down for you, what's the easiest way to ease your way into the game, to get into the groove, to get into the flow of the game? Make the game easy and try and score as close to the basket as possible. And we have seen Karl Anthony Towns develop a post-up game. He has a nice turnaround shot. He has a nice jump hook. He has a nice baby hook. I just don't understand why Karl Anthony Towns makes the game so difficult for himself. This is the thing with Karl Anthony Towns. Like, his numbers look great. The numbers look great. Let's take a look at his numbers for this past season. Averaging 21.8 points, 8.3 rebounds, 3 assists, converting 50.4% from the field, 41.6% from three-point land, converting 87.3% from free throws. Like I said, the numbers with Karl Anthony Towns, it's there. But what the numbers don't show you is how he got those points, how he got those rebounds, how he ended up shooting a specific percentage from three-point land, from the field. It's just, those numbers, I don't think it really gives a good gauge as the type of player that Karl Anthony Towns is. He is a multiple all-star player. I believe he made a team 2 or 3 times. But when it comes down to when the lights are on the brightest and when it's time to perform, and specifically in this series against the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals, like, he, to me, really showed his true colors. He's not someone that you can depend on as far as taking you to the promised land. And speaking of the series going up against the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals, in the 5 games, he averaged 19.6 points, 8.4 rebounds, and 2.2 assists in the 5 games against Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. If we take it game by game, it is not good, man. He really only had one good game, and I believe it was in Game 4 where they avoided being eliminated by Dallas, and they won in Dallas. But in Game 1, he was 6 of 20 from the field, which is 30%. He was 2 of 9 from three-point land, which is 22.2%. In Game 2, he was 4 of 16, 25% from the field. Three-point land, he was 1 of 5, 20%. In Game 3, he was 5 of 18 from the field, 27.8%. He was 0 of 8 from three-point land. 0 of 8 from three-point land. In Game 4, he was 9 of 13. This is the game where they won. 9 of 13 from the field, which is 69.2%. Great. 4 of 5 from three-point land. Obviously, that's great. 80%. And then in Game 5, we're going back to the regular old Karl Anthony Towns. He was 9 of 20 from the field, 45%. He was 1 of 6 from three-point land, 16.7% from three-point land. Again, like I said earlier, this is what I don't understand with Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns, a part of his game, yes, is the three-pointer. And I can't knock him because, like I said earlier in the video, the three-pointer is such an important piece of today's NBA's offense and how all the teams are running a lot of their offense starting with the three-point line. But what Karl Anthony Towns did in that Western Conference Finals against Dallas was egregious. The shots were not falling for Cat. And instead of going the opposite way, he sticked with it. He kept shooting threes, and it looked like he tried to will himself to break out of the shooting slump. But I will never understand it, man. Now, in the article, Ian Begley writes why the Knicks would even want to pursue Karl Anthony Towns. Well, Karl Anthony Towns, it looks like he has a lot of like ties into the Knicks organization, and they're kind of organic. So the Knicks president, Leon Rose, he's actually Karl Anthony Towns' former agent. The Knicks executive vice president, William Wesley, is supposedly close with the Towns family. And the Knicks senior vice president of basketball operations, Gerson Rosas, he actually ran the Timberwolves during Towns' tenure when it was like the first few seasons when it was the beginning of Towns' career. So you see all these different ties with Karl Anthony Towns and the New York Knicks. Now again, that doesn't mean that just because Leon Rose was his former agent, just because William Wesley is close to the Towns family, because he has ties with Gerson Rosas, it doesn't mean that they're just gonna go and make a bid for him. I'm putting my faith in these guys, and I am pretty confident that they see the type of player that Karl Anthony Towns has become. And really, it's been with this playoff run that he just had. Going to the Western Conference Finals against Dallas, like, he just kept making the same mistakes, man. Just stupid fouls. Fouls that, like, were away from the basket. Reaching fouls. Stupid fouls. Like, the basketball IQ with Cat is just, I thought it would have grown by now. 2 seasons ago, I believe it was, when they went to the playoffs and the first round they lost in 7 to Memphis. They actually should have won that series, but Karl Anthony Towns had one of the dumbest just fouls again. Like I keep saying, I feel like I'm repeating myself and I'm a broken record. And if I'm saying the same thing about Karl Anthony Towns from 2 seasons ago, shouldn't there have been some sort of development? Not even just basketball IQ wise, but also his play. But I really hope that this whole Karl Anthony Towns being tied with the Knicks, I hope this whole thing just stops, because I really want to focus on re-signing OG, re-signing Hartenstein, and if we don't sign OG, signing Mikal Bridges. And I really hope that the Karl Anthony Towns rumored coming to the Knicks, I really hope that this is the last of it. I don't know why people keep bringing up Karl Anthony Towns with the Knicks, besides the points that I just made about all these people in the organization being tied to Karl Anthony Towns. Besides all that, I don't know why they keep linking Cat with the Knicks. Karl Anthony Towns, like I said earlier in the video, he's a good player. He's probably still going to continue making all-star games, but whenever he does make those all-star games, it's really about the numbers. But if you take a look behind the numbers of Karl Anthony Towns, look at the productivity, look at the impact of those numbers, how he's getting his points, when he's getting his points. There's just a lot not to like with Karl Anthony Towns. And he was one of my favorite players when he first got into the league. You know, Dominican, he's repping Dominican people all day. But the more and more I seen his career go, the more and more I got disappointed, and I'm completely off the bandwagon. But that's it for today's video, guys. I want to say thank you for checking it out. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about this proposed Karl Anthony Towns trade that Ian Begley threw out. But until next time, you know the drill, you know the vibes. Taj Gibson for president, wherever you are. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. Summer League MVP. I don't even care if you're not even in the same state in Las Vegas. I don't care. You need to get the MVP. The deuce is loose. And until next time, I'll check you out in the next video. Peace.